Welcome to the That's Life podcast, where we discuss the ups and downs of life and everything in between. Here's your host, Shane Lakita.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of That's Life. It's been a long time. I feel like it's an old reunion of going back to high school and sitting back with some comfortable friends and people that I care about, people that listen and people that join hands to be able to do great things and be as kind as can be and be a positive influence in life and everything else across the board. So welcome back, everyone. It's been a while. And I'm going to start this whole entire podcast off by being very vulnerable with you. I'm just going to be honest with you, okay? It has been a struggle for me. And I'm not talking about weight-related struggles because I've already gained some weight and I've pretty much maintained and I'm kind of down a little bit lately, but that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about my mindset, where I'm at, mentally, physically, across the board. It's been an upside-down struggle. It's been something that I've never really experienced this much at one given time. For me to be able to, I always have like an ability to be able to overcome some things and understand that I can just kind of continue to move forward and I can change what I can change. I can control the things that I can control. Though I always have a good mindset about the whole thing. But in this state of affairs right now, I'm not doing that well. So I thought to myself, internally, mentally, if I'm struggling, what do I usually do when I struggle? Well, this podcast is one of the reasons. I do a couple other things, a video cast and some other things that I'm doing. But I want to be honest with you and tell you the reason why I'm not feeling all that well. Now, listen, I don't talk politics on this podcast because it's not the space. It's not the time. People don't come here to listen to politics. They come here to listen to something that may inspire them, something that may bring a level of accountability, something that might be able to share a story that they can relate to know that they're not alone, all those things. But politically, the climate in the world is heavy. It's heavy. No matter what side of the aisle that you sit on, no matter where you are, it is heavy out there. There's a lot of things that are coming down that they just feel like they're smothering. And it drowns you out. To the point where you're like, wow, man, I thought I was doing pretty good over here, but then that happens socially and politically and governmentally and all the things. So then you feel like, all the things that I'm doing on one end to be kind and to be forthright and to be somebody that gives and somebody that takes care of other individuals or anything like that is all for nothing sometimes, I feel. Because of the temperature that we're sitting at out there in the world. Now, the temperature is there because people, when they enter conversations, they don't want to listen to other individuals. They want to tell other individuals how they need to feel or what they need to do or those kind of things. And I get all that. I do. And like I said, I'm not going to talk politics here. But I am going to talk about communication. And I am going to talk about active listening and active speaking. Because I think this is really important in the grand scheme of things. So whether you're talking politics or you're talking life or you're talking family, you're talking relationships or anything, one of the things that a lot of people will say, they'll ask the question, what's the key to a good relationship? What's the key to a good marriage? What's the key to all these things that they may ask somebody? And one of the biggest things that you hear from everybody across the board is have listening skills and shut up when they're talking. And so at the end of the day, when you're having a conversation with somebody, let's talk about the value of actually listening to them. Let's talk about the value of actually sitting down, engaging with somebody, staring at them in the eyes, having a conversation, closing the phone, turning the phone off, turning the laptop off, do whatever you have to do to engage in that conversation and sit down with somebody to say, hey, you know what? I'm listening to you. I'm engaging with you. You are worthy to me. And I know that we can do this together or whatever. right? Even if I disagree with you about the fundamentals or anything that you're talking about, we can still have a conversation to sit down and talk. I'm listening to your point of view. I'm not belittling your point of view. I'm not shutting you down. I'm not telling you that you're less than because of a feeling that you may have, or the way that you were brought up, or your diet skills, or things that you want to be able to lose weight. You're doing it a certain direction. Who am I to sit back and tell you what's going to work for you? Who am I to tell you you're wrong for doing that? When I have struggles on my own end, that I need to make sure that my house is clean and on tip-top shape and everything is in good condition before I go ahead and try to assault other people with my words. Right? This should be an approach that all of us take. Are you listening to the people that you're with? In a relationship, when you're sitting down and you're having a marriage, and you're I say you're having a marriage almost like it's like, oh, you're having some burgers and some fries, but you have a marriage or you have a relationship, you're with somebody. And some of the strongest relationships that I know of, including my own, are based on the fact that the communication is solid in those relationships. We talk about everything. Let me tell you a little bit of a story time, okay? So as, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, my wife and I have been married now for 23 years, and we've been together for 25. So it's a long tenure, right? And when people see us together, they're always like, man, you guys are like a great couple. You guys are always getting along or whatever. And let me go and break this down for you real quick. What you see on the surface with a lot of people, just like people that lose weight or people that are trying to lose weight or anything like that, what you see on the camera and on the surface is one thing, but what goes on behind closed doors is another, right? So about 10 years ago or 15 years ago, my wife and I had hit like this roadblock in our relationship. It was like this, what do they call it? The 10-year itch, or the what? I don't even forget the exact terms that they use whenever they say that if your relationship hits a certain amount of time, that it hits a wall, and you have to overcome the wall. You have to make sure that you're battling through that to be able to get to the other side where you can reap the benefits of going through that together and learning from each other. Well, about 10 and a half, or I'm going to say 15 years. That's what it is. About 15 years ago, we split. We actually got to the point where we weren't talking. We weren't communicating. She was frustrated with me. I was frustrated with her. Her mom had bad health scares, so she went to go stay with her mother. And at the time, she had taken our kid and our dog with him. So I was kind of solo act. I was kind of like sitting down here going, wow, now what do I do? And so I'm sitting back and I'm thinking to myself, and I went through a lot of retrospection. And at the time, I was sitting back going, what have I done? But more so, why is this person thinking of me differently now? Why 8 years ago when we got married, we were happily married, we were good to go, but now things have changed, and now things are different, and now things like what has changed in them? Why are they the ones that are the problem? I haven't changed, of course not. There's no way that I've changed. I've stayed the same steady that I've always been, and they're the ones that are changing. That's kind of the mindset that I was in, and that's a completely unhealthy mindset, because at the end of the day, I've changed. I do things that are wrong. She's changed. She's done things that are wrong, because we're aging, we're growing, we're evolving, we're doing all these different things. But what we would do is we would enter conversations, and we wouldn't talk about the difficult, dirty conversations. We weren't talking about the things that are really bugging us, the things that get under your skin, or things that are really bothering you that you're not doing, or you're not completing as a couple, and or anything like that. Like almost like that exercise. If you've ever been to couples therapy, you sit down and you talk about, here are things that I like about our relationship. Here's things that I know we need to work on. And here's things that frustrate me, so that way we can all kind of get our thoughts out there and just talk about it, right? But we weren't doing that. We chose to ignore it and continue to move forward and just think that things are going to figure itself out. It's just going to figure itself out, as everything's going to be fine. And it got to the point where it was a boiling point where we were then no longer talking to each other. There wasn't any intimacy. There wasn't anything. It just kind of stopped. It literally just put this kibosh in there. And here's the reason why we got to the point. Now, I'll tell you a little bit of after effects in a minute. But we got to the point that we got to with our relationship because we weren't listening. My wife was trying to tell me multiple times that she was frustrated by certain things. And what would happen would be I would be defensive. I would be at the point where I'd be like, no, you know what? Why are you telling me this? Like, I'm not, that's not wrong. That's just your opinion or whatever else. And I would belittle her concern. And I would not make fun of it, but I would poo-poo it. I would shut it down. I'd be like, listen, I'm not going to, like, you're belittling things that I know that I do well. I think I do well, but you don't. So that's just your opinion. And I don't really think I need to change much. I think I'm perfect just the way that I am. Now, mind you, I never really said those words, but that's kind of the mentality that I had. And that's the way it came across to her. So as she sat there going, okay, I'm having a problem with him. I don't necessarily agree with some of the things that he does. I don't necessarily agree with the fact that he's not pulling his own weight. He's not carrying the torch. He's not doing the things that he has to do. And I wasn't listening whatsoever. I was too busy, whether it was work related, whether it was career related, whatever it was that I was trying to be able to focus on, that I wasn't focusing on the relationship, which is the absolute most important part of our whole entire being in this household, is the relationship between my wife and I. So we weren't listening to each other. There was a roadblock. We hit this wall. And legitimately, once her mother got sick, she went to Canada to go take care of her mother. She's got dual citizenship. She's from up there. So she took off. She went to go take care of her mother. And she left. Now, weeks and weeks and weeks go by, and sometimes I would take my son down here, and then sometimes I would drop her. She would come pick him up and things like that. So we were just kind of like playing this separated world. And then all of a sudden, as I was kind of processing through in my head, why am I in this position? What did I do to deserve this? I was always victim. It was always why is she changed so much? Is she cheating on me? All these things, all these questions go through your head, and you start to really just compound it all, and you start to be confused, and you start to think to yourself, I didn't ask for this. The relationship is supposed to be for better or worse. And right now it's worse. But I know I want to try to work on something, but I don't know how, and I don't know where to go, and I don't know what to do. So I started going to therapy myself. And the therapist said to me a very key thing. My therapist looked at me and said, you have a very good ability to be able to listen to people by engaging with them. But the problem is that you're not actively listening. And I said, actively listening? What the hell are you talking about, actively listening? They said, you can stare at somebody all you want to. You can make eye contact all you want to. But I can tell by having a conversation with you that your mind and your body and everything else is on something different. It's somewhere else. Your mind is somewhere else that's not necessarily paying attention to anything that's going on right here, right now. You're not in the moment. You're not present. And so that was an eye-opener for me. My own therapist said to me, as I'm sitting there talking to the therapist and I'm having these conversations, the therapist looked at me and says, I want to let you know how I feel. And I said, okay, all right. Well, I mean, the therapist is supposed to tell me how I feel and what I need to do, but okay. And she said, here's how I feel. I feel as if when you're conversing with me, if I'm not telling you something at that moment in time that's entertaining to you or valuable to you at that moment in time, you're engaged, but you're not engaged. You're not listening to me. You're not really engaging. So what she said, I'm going to start to do is I want to start to test you. I want to start to be able to help you with this, because as I'm having a conversation with you and we're engaging, I'm going to stop the conversation and I'm going to ask you, what did we just talk about right there? What was that I just said? You engage with me a little bit, but I want to make sure that you understand the concept. And here's two reasons why she did that. One of them was for me to become self-aware that I wasn't necessarily listening to anything that she was really saying. And the other thing was, if I was listening, was I understanding what she was saying? Because oftentimes when we did this little game that we were doing, I would say, you said the following things. And she's like, no, I didn't. I absolutely didn't mean it that way. And this is exactly how I meant for it to come across. And I'm going to say the exact same words, but now you're engaged with me and we're having this conversation where we can actually map it out word by word, line by line, item by item. And so I sat back and I said, this is a very introspective look inside. I can see this. So we did this multiple times. And I will tell you what, right now, I do not know how many times she would talk to me and I legitimately would make the effort to listen, and I wasn't even listening to everything that she had said. So I learned a skill set during this period of time while my wife was away, and I was trying to work on myself, blaming her the whole time when my therapist was like, hold on. I understand she's frustrating you, and I understand that she's doing the things that she's doing, but you need to take a look at yourself real quick, because I can see when she tells you these things, you're not listening to her. You're not engaging with her. You're not listening and valuing her input. Wow. Okay. If I can make that sound of my head exploding, that's pretty much what happened. Because I was like, wait a minute. So you're saying I'm coming to you telling you that it's her fault, it's her problem. This is exactly, I'm still the same. I'm communicating the same way that I always have. I've done everything that I always have, et cetera, and this is where we're at. And she's like, you need to look at yourself. So months go by, right? And I'm still trying to work on this. And my wife actually noticed a couple times as we were doing a handoff with our son, she was noticing that when I was having a conversation, I would stop and I would like talk to her. And she shared this later, that all of a sudden she was like, wait a minute, he actually sees me. He actually sees me in the space that I'm in. He sees me parked right here, that he's like, okay, I value you. And I want to hear from you, and I want to know how you're thinking and how you're feeling. And so a couple months go by, she's still up there, I'm still down here, I'm working, she's up there, or whatever else. And then life kind of changed. It went down a weird path, and she got real sick. And she came back down home where our hospital was, and she was in the hospital for about 5 days, and the doctor was basically told her that I don't know if you are going to make it. Like, I need you to understand that you're sick. And she had some liver issues. She's had some other stuff because we used to party hard, and it was affecting her. And while she was on the bed in the hospital, again, I was engaged in conversations with her. I cared about her so much that I was there for her the entire time. And I just let her talk, whether it was frustration, whether it was anger, whether it was whatever, but I just let her talk, and I gave her space. I sat down with her to say, okay, talk to me. All right. I'm not going to say a word. I just want you to tell me how you're feeling, where you are right now. And I'm not going to try to fix it. That's the other issue that I always had. My therapist said, you're always trying to fix the problem. Hey guys, one of the things that I get from a lot of individuals that listen to the show, that watch the show, that follow me on social media is, how can I help the podcast? Well, here's one of the ways that you can. I have a Patreon page. Now, you may not be familiar with what a Patreon page is, but what you can do is you could sign up to become a patron of the show. You could donate monthly to the show. Now, after a few months of donating monthly to the show, there's different tiers to be able to donate to. But you'll get some tchotchkes back. You'll get some merchandise back. You'll get something for actually donating to the show. But in the meantime, it helps to alleviate some of the cost that comes into running a podcast or doing different stuff. So if you're looking to support, I'm going to place the link of the Patreon page right into the bio. And I'll also tell you what it is. It's www.patreon.com/that's_life. And this way, you can support the podcast, you can give back, we could do all kinds of different stuff, and we can grow together. So I appreciate all the support you've given me in the past and in the future and right now. So thank you so much, and back to the show. So whenever she would come to you and say, this is a problem right now, you would always be like, how can I fix it, or whatever else, or I would look on the external situations and try to be able to grab whatever tools that I can to be able to fix the situation. And sometimes I learned that when you're in this battle of communication, you're in this sphere of communication, that if you are having a conversation with somebody, engage with them, understand them, listen to them. And then also, when you're sitting there, they may just want to vent about something. It's not something to fix. It's something that they just need to get off their chest. And that's hard. That was so hard for me. That's still hard for me to this day. So she got sick, and then she started to turn for the better. And one of the things that we promised each other while we were in the hospital, and we were sitting there with each other, and we sat down and had a conversation, is she said to me, I promise you that we're going to work on this. I promise you that we're going to communicate and we're going to talk. I've really enjoyed the fact that you have really focused and worked on your communication skill for you to listen and be able to do that. And she said, and I need to do the same. Because I get frustrated with something, I shut down. I need to communicate. So we promised each other that no matter what the conversation was going to look like for the rest of our time together, we are always going to make sure that we talk. And whether those conversations are difficult, whether those conversations hurt, whether they sting a little bit with the fact that you're either being called out or something is there, or you did something wrong and you don't want to really know that, but you do, and et cetera, et cetera. All the things that we go through and all the things that we're doing, we made a promise to each other. We were never going to not talk to each other. And the other promise that we made is when we go to bed at nighttime, and I know, listen, folks, I know this sounds really cliche, but we made a promise to each other we would never go to bed mad. We were never going to go there without talking to each other or anything like that. As a matter of fact, if we had to vent it out and stay up to be able to vent it out, that's what we were going to do. And we could vent it out, then we go to bed, put our heads on the pillow, and know that we are sleeping next to the person that we love and that we cherish. So the reason I bring all of that up to you is this. I learned. I grew. I matured. I had difficult conversations. I looked at myself in the mirror, which is what a lot of us need to do. You know, when I opened this whole thing up by saying that the world is really heavy right now, and I said, I'm not going to talk politics, but politics is another one of those types of conversations that you may have with somebody that you may completely vehemently disagree with the other person. And then you get in this mode of, I want to tell you what's wrong with that, or I want to tell you what's right with what I do. And that's where the stalemate happens. That's where the arguments happen. That's where the anger happens. That's where people go back to their corners and they shut down, much like me and my wife did. So the point that I'm making here is we all need to look inward instead of blaming other things. So let's say you're trying to lose weight. Let's say you're trying to be healthy, right? What's the one thing that we always do if we're not successful, or we fall off the wagon, or we gain some weight, or we eat things that we shouldn't eat, or whatever else? What always happens? We collectively blame other things. Oh, it's my genetics. Oh, it's the stress that I was going through. Oh, I had to attend a funeral. I lost a friend. Oh, I had all these excuses all around the whole entire world. Other things that affected my actions that I did as me. Instead of actually looking inward and listening to the cues of what's going on. Because those external factors wouldn't affect me if my head was in the right space. Or I was on the positive end of the weight loss or anything like that, right? Because a lot of times when we're losing, we're in the zone. But if we're not losing and we're gaining, then we fall off and we blame everything in the world, and we're just in this negative space, right? So the key to it is use the mirror method. Hold the mirror up to your face and look at yourself. I'm going to tell you what, that's probably hard for a lot of people to truly do. I know a lot of the ladies go on and put their makeup on. I know the guys go and comb over the coif and the beard or whatever else. I understand all that. I'm talking about truly looking in the mirror at yourself. And what do you see? Are you doing the introspective look at yourself to find out, am I doing everything that I can to make sure that I can push forward in a positive space? Am I doing everything truly what I need to do if this is something that is important to me that I want to move forward with, losing weight or get a job promotion or my relationship or everything? Am I doing the things that are necessary for me to do to make sure I set myself up for success as we move forward? And I can almost guarantee you 9 times out of 10, you're going to answer, I am not doing everything that I need to do. I am not focused where I need to focus. I am not looking at myself. I'm not looking inward. I'm still blaming everything else around me. I'm still blaming all the people around me. I'm still doing everything other than looking at what I'm doing to myself and by myself. This is so important. I mean, we're in this space, right? We're in this space of how do we together, like as we're all navigating all of this, And we don't want to feel alone, so we want to be able to connect with somebody else to know that maybe somebody else is going through the same stuff we're going through, or I feel like I'm connected to somebody because you're struggling with the same stuff that I'm struggling with. You're doing the same things that I'm doing, and yet I still can't get forward, but neither can you. So there's a camaraderie. There's a community that's there, right? But even in those communities, the people that are like-minded, you can still have conversations and not listen to each other. And so that person that you consider to be an ally or somebody that is in your corner or somebody that roots for you or somebody that you're in the zone with or anything like that, they will then feel like you're not listening to a word that they're saying, even if they're doing it in a way that's not really negative or not really going down the road of trying to fix anything. But if you're not engaging with a conversation with somebody and looking at them and engaging with them and actively listening and maybe even repeating back some of the things that they say to be able to understand, I am listening to you, I hear you, and I value you in this moment, for you to be able to be engaged and have a conversation and feel like you're a member of this community and not just a person that's just kind of walking by and doing the things that they have to do, or this person's using me for whatever it is. Instead, they want to hear my input. They want to hear, they value what I have to say. I mean, how often do you have a conversation with a boss or somebody that's in your life that you're talking to, and you have this conversation, you sit down with this person and you're doing whatever it is, and the boss is sitting there at the desk and you're doing like, maybe you're doing a annual review, or you're doing something where they're sitting down with you to have a conversation about performance or anything like that. And you got some things you want to talk about, but you're a little afraid to talk about it, but you want to have this conversation. And if it's a fruitful conversation, it's going to be great, because maybe they need to hear about some of your concerns or gripes or even some celebrations or whatever. And you walk into the office, you sit down, you're having this one-on-one, and the manager has the laptop open. And as they're talking to you, they're sitting there looking at the laptop, and they're having a conversation, almost like a side eye. They're not really looking at you, but they're engaging somewhat, and they're doing the, yeah, okay, yep, as you're talking. And you internally, how does that make you feel? You feel like they're not even listening to me. They could care less about me or what I have to say right now. They do not care about the fact that I'm concerned with something, because they feel that their way is the right way and this is the way it's going to be, and you need to fix yourself to fit within the mold of what we do. And that goes nowhere. You feel like you're less than. You feel like you're less than a human being. You feel like you're less than a contributing partner. You feel like you're less than everything. And I've been there so many times. It even got to the point where I had one leader that was sitting there and had a laptop, and I remember I sat down 10 minutes into this one-on-one that they were supposed to be sitting there going over performance review and talking about the things that I do well and some of the things that I need to work on and things that we can work on together to come up with a workup plan and whatever else to be able to hit our goals and do the things that we're going to do. And they had the laptop open and their phone open, and they were talking to me, but they weren't really talking to me. They were sitting there typing things in, and then I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe they're just taking notes. Nope, it was like reports they were looking at about some other stuff that were coming through, emails that were coming up, whatever. And so I looked at my leader and I said to her this. I said, listen, if I'm going to take my time to come in here and sit down with you to go over a performance review, which I would assume is going to be pretty good because I hit my targets, but I want to be able to learn how to grow, and I want to be able to grow and be better, I need your engagement. So what I need you to do is I need you to shut the computer and I need you to turn off the phone. And my leader looked at me like I had three heads. And she was like, what? I said, close the computer and turn off the phone for the 20 minutes that we're going to spend here talking about my growth, talking about my future, talking about all this different stuff. If you can't do that, we'll have to reschedule, because I need to go back to go to work and trying to hit my goals and do the things that I have to do. Well, the leader, she stopped for a second. And she goes, nobody's ever said that to me. And she goes, you know what? As you said that to me, I realized how rude that really was. How rude it was for me to be talking about your growth and your improvement and to celebrate in some of the things that you do for this team and the engagement and the contributions and things like that. Yet I wasn't engaged with you whatsoever, and I could see how you could feel that way. So she closed the computer and she turned off her phone, and we had one of the best and most fruitful conversations, because she turned her chair and she was looking directly at me, and we were having a conversation about things that mattered. Not superfluous, surface level stuff that you can just kind of check off the box and say, yep, okay, whatever. Yep, sure. We're talking about some meat and potatoes. some nitty gritty. And so from that point forward, at the time that I was working in the corporate world, I moved myself up pretty quickly. I moved into a sales manager role, then I moved to store manager, then I was an area manager, and then I did, moved up in the company until layoffs after COVID or whatever, something like that. But at the end of the day, all of that progressive movement upward was caused by one meeting that I had that I expressed myself to say, I need you to listen to me when I'm talking. Don't just check off the box. Don't just use it as a formality with the fact that okay, we had a one-on-one. It was great. We checked off the box. He saw that he's doing pretty well, and they'll go back to selling. Instead, when you engage with people, they feel valued. They feel special. They feel like they contribute. They feel like they are in this space where you're at. So earlier when I talked about the political aspect of it, when you're having a conversation with somebody, engage in that conversation. Don't just bark and scream over people. Don't just go after people based on their affiliation or who they support or what party they lean or anything like that. Lean in on the conversation to say, I want to know more about you. Why do you think the way that you do? Tell me. I need to know why. So that way I can help myself to understand. And that way, even if we disagree, if we agree to disagree, we can still walk away and have a cup of coffee or a beer together. But we're going to go do what we're going to do. But at least I understand you and you understand me instead of us trying to fix each other. Why don't we just coexist and lift each other up in the positives that we have with each other? That's the key. But it's almost non-existent these days. Because people don't know how to listen. People don't know how to actively listen. People don't know how to shut everything off and engage fully and completely because of our attention spans being the size of a gnat on a phone that every 5-second clip that you might be scrolling through. At the end of the day, a 15-minute conversation can be so fruitful when there's no phones, no tablets, no computers, no distractions. Just you and that other person having a conversation about things that some of them may be difficult conversations, or maybe you're talking about things you love and that person never knew that you love certain things or that you care about certain things or that certain things are generate excitement for you or whatever else. You can learn so much about each other if you just turn off the noise and engage one-on-one with that person to be able to understand. You're amazing. I'm amazing. We're human beings. We're just trying to be able to move through life. We're just trying to be able to do the best that we can as we move forward. And if I can have somebody in my corner that actually listens to me when I'm frustrated or listens to me when I want to celebrate or somebody that I want to be able to sit down and help them out as well, what a better world this would be, wouldn't it? Wouldn't this be an amazing place if we had a bunch of people that actually listened to each other? I think it would be amazing. And so that's the reason why I'm sharing this with you today. I want all of us to look in the mirror. Take a look at that inward look. Am I listening and am I actively listening? Do I engage with people? Do I turn off the phone? Do I stop scrolling? Am I having a conversation? Am I engaging with you? Do I care about what you have to say? And if you don't care about what they have to say, then you might really want to start taking a look inward because you're not giving anybody grace or any time to be able to express themselves. And that means that you're being a pighead, right? I've done it. I've been there. I know how that is. I know how it feels on the receiving end, but I also know how it is on the distributing end, on my end, that I've done this to other people as well. So guys, make sure you're holding the mirror up to yourself. If you're going to enter a conversation, make sure you're putting your listening ears on. Make sure you engage and make somebody else feel valued at that moment in time. You'd be surprised at how much more you can gain and accomplish together if you just feel like you guys are engaged with each other and you're giving each other the time to show the value of each other at that moment. All right, guys, listen, much love to you all. I appreciate you. This is the first episode back. Hopefully I'm going to be able to get some more consistency and a better cadence going with the audio format of this. I am doing a political video cast called We're Not Like Them on YouTube. If you're interested, you can pop over there, but we're not going to talk politics here because this is the space we want to just go to be able to be better versions of ourselves, to give back, to be kind, to do the things that we have to do. So I appreciate all of you and those that have still held on, even though I took a hiatus for a while. Those of you that still held on, I appreciate you more than you will ever know. Much love to you all, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to the That's Life podcast. Please leave us a 5-star rating and any feedback on whatever platform you're using.